Mike, I think we need to bring on our special guest, don't you? And
yeah, get him involved, mate.
It's me great pleasure to introduce Drew Parker to Barbed Wire. Drew, awesome to have you on the show. Welcome to episode 1 of Barbed Wire. Firstly, how are you doing? How are you feeling this fine evening?
Feeling good. Feeling soaked from the weather, but
it's not good, is it?
All in all, not too bad. Yeah.
Excellent. But we are, let's see, a couple of weeks away now from Thrill Kill, from that epic weekends that TNT Extreme are going to be hosting from Fusion, and your return to professional wrestling after 10 months away, coming out of retirement. Such an epic weekend. Let me ask you, where's your mind at, kind of thinking ahead, coming out of retirement, looking forward to your return, and how's the body at the moment?
Body's doing pretty good. It's a lot better when you're not throwing yourself through glass like 18 times a month. But yeah, I feel good, I feel happy, very happy that I'm coming back. I think I'm coming back for the right reasons now. I think when I was doing deathmatch wrestling before, it was quite selfish. I wanted like all these different things. Whereas now I do just want to give back to British Deathmatch Wrestling. And it just happens that the way I'm going to do that is by getting rid of all like the clout chasers, all of the fucking strobes, everyone who can't hang, I'm going to slowly get rid of in British Deathmatch Wrestling.
Yeah, and let me ask you, what are some of your reasons or motivations for coming out of retirement, and for choosing that weekend as your return?
So being in Japan for 4 years and seeing the level that deathmatch wrestling is, and then obviously I've had a few trips to America as well. The level elsewhere is high. And I don't think that British deathmatch wrestling can stand up to it yet. So I want to make the place I was born, I'm a British citizen, I want to make British deathmatch wrestling better instead of just trying to make myself better in other countries.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we go to Mike, I'm sure Mike's got some questions. We have been unveiling the matches, the first round matches for Thrill Kill, the Deathmatch Tournament. Let's have a little look at your opponent and your match that you're going to be involved in on June the 2nd. Here we go. Session Moth Martina, fans bring their own weapons deathmatch. Very unique, but I mean, Mike mentioned being a big fan of the original ECW back in the day, and as was I. Like I say, I know that the fans would bring cheese graters and all sorts to the ECW. Yeah, all sorts of things in the ECW arena. Firstly, give us your thoughts on your opponent. I don't know if you've been in the ring with Session Moth before, and a bit about the stipulation that you're going to be facing Martina under in the first round, Drew.
Well, I actually wrestled Martina like 2016, so what, 8 years ago at a Lucha Forever show in Birmingham in a sweet fight, I think it was. So it was just like confectionery used as weapons. And she actually did beat me. But it was before, I think it was before I'd had a death match, I think. So I think she's in for a rude awakening. I'm not here to have a shitty little comedy match that she can get out of easy without taking any bumps. I'm here to hurt her, and I'm here to prove that I'm still the best deathmatch wrestler in the world.
Absolutely. Mike, do you have any questions for our guest?
Well, you know what, Drew? I was just going to say, Session Moth Martina is proven in TNT and death matches the last couple of years. You know, what you just said then, it made me think that's what a couple of people have sort of said to her before these matches she's had. And then it's been her crawling out the ring covered in blood and glass and still
crawling out the ring without her arm raised, may I add.
It has happened on occasion, but you know what? She's tough. She's one tough bitch, Drew. It's going to be an amazing matchup for you, and two massive matches lined up for you so far that weekend. Emerson Jane, who won DOA, and of course Session Moth, who's took part in numerous deathmatch tournaments already. So it is going to be a tough one for you. But I've been lucky enough to ring announce for you throughout your career. Obviously at Wrestle Island back in the day, and of course at TNT. And it's, you know, it is an honor to see you getting back in the ring. I'm really proud of that. And you know, I was so happy to announce that match last year where I thought you were going to, you know, get away from deathmatch wrestling, but then here you are, you're back and you're ready to go. And what's changed in your mindset that's made you want to come back the most? Apart from, I think there's something else going on here, Drew, that you're not telling us.
First of all, you're going to have to announce my second retirement match, wherever that is. I'll make sure you're there for that. There's genuinely, besides the reasons I've stated, there's no other reason. I really do just want to help deathmatch wrestling. Like, to pull the curtain back, I have a life, I have like a job, I do normal things, but I don't crave rolling around in blood. But I do crave the idea that British Deathmatch Wrestling, the place I came from, does get seen on a higher level. Because at the minute, it's not. It's really not. Besides 2 or 3 guys, no one's looking at deathmatch wrestling in Britain and saying, I want to go there.
And we've also got to mention that the current TNT Extreme Division champion, Big Effing Joe, and I know that you've made it clear that, maybe I don't think you're looking beyond this tournament by any stretch of the imagination, and depending on how far you go in this tournament, but Big Effing Joe is certainly in your eyesight.
Say his name, Johners. Don't be scared, Johners. You can say his name; he won't appear.
Big Effing Joe. Any words for him?
Yeah. So when I was thinking about coming back, obviously I wanted to take the Extreme Division title, but even if Joe wasn't the champion, I still would have been gunning for Joe, because before I was doing deathmatch wrestling at a high level, Joe was always here in the UK grinding and trying his absolute best to make British deathmatch wrestling something to be proud of. And I think he's done like the absolute best he can. But unfortunately for him, he's the one holding the belt. So after Emerson and after this tournament, I'm going straight for him.
Absolutely. And we're going to have a quick look. This is another exclusive for episode 1 of Barbed Wire. But this is the draw, the brackets. And of course, we can see at the top left there, Session Moth Martina and Drew Parker. We can see the stipulations. We can see the layout. But essentially, the winner of each of those first round matches will be in a 4-way final. And it'll be kind of an extreme death match, with all of the stipulations from the previous 4 matches involved in that one final 4-way. Now, coming back out of retirement, having not wrestled for 10 months, I know you've got Emerson Jane on the Saturday and this death match on the Sunday. I mean, is your body prepared? Is your body ready for that sort of, grueling exertion, especially with the stipulations and especially with the competition and the talent involved? And if you do get to the 4-way, do you think your body's going to hold up?
It's a pretty valid question. I don't know, is the honest answer. I don't know if I've calloused my body enough to that when I get back in there, I'll be fine and it'll be like nothing's changed, or the complete opposite and it'll just break down after nearly a year of not taking any bumps and not fucking about with glass. I like the idea of only having to wrestle twice to win the trophy. That appeals to me. But I don't like the idea that I could not get pinned and still lose the match. So that's another whole element to watch out for, I guess.
Absolutely. And we did have somebody reach out to us before we went live, and we got a huge fan of yours from over in France, Stefan. And Stefan messaged me last night and asked, what do you like about professional wrestling and deathmatch wrestling in particular? What motivates you about deathmatch wrestling or death matches in particular, Drew?
I'm going to struggle to call myself a professional wrestler now. I do not intend on doing any normal wrestling matches after this comeback. So I don't know. I started watching deathmatch so young, like 10 or 11 years old, and it just molded my brain like fucking putty. And it's just been a part of me ever since. Like, it's proven, because I've only lasted 10 months away from it before deciding to come back. Like, in my opinion, for selfless reasons. Like, I just want to help deathmatch wrestling now, whether it be in the UK or abroad as well. So I don't know. It's woven into everything. It's just woven into my whole life now.
Absolutely. And Mike, do you have any final questions for our guest, in particular regarding his matches and involvement on June the 1st and 2nd, my friend?
Come on, Mike, hit me with it.
Go on. I was going to say, who would you say? I'll just paraphrase this by mentioning, I used to watch ECW obviously back in the day. That Terry Funk, Sabu, barbed wire match. Obviously the Type A death match we just mentioned. Obviously Mick Foley, Cactus Jack coming through. But who has been sort of your inspiration in death match? Who have you looked up to? Who's been somebody who has really inspired you in that whole scene of wrestling?
Before I'd started doing death matches and just watching as a fan, it was definitely Sick Nick Mondo from CZW. him and Thumbtack Jack were my two favorites from that time. Mondo because of his style and then how he just dropped off so early and just left. But then Jack as well because he was a European guy who went over to America as a deathmatch wrestler, which wasn't happening that often, and just made himself a star. And I really did take inspiration from that. But then after I started doing death matches, I'd say Masashi Takeda from Japan. His style's brutal. Every single match that he has is must see. And he's a really fucking strong person as well, like personally. So yeah, those are my motivations.
Well, you know what? People at the moment who are up and coming in the deathmatch scene, they say Drew Parker's their inspiration. So I'm looking forward to seeing you back in action.
They say this, right? Hold on. No one calls me out. I don't know if you've noticed this. No one calls me out. And I'm not saying I'm fucking the dog's bollocks. I know I'm not number one in the world. But fuck me. I don't think anyone wants to wrestle me in the UK because everyone knows there's levels to this and they're not on it. Like, you have to meet me at my level. Come to me if you want to actually test yourself in deathmatch wrestling in the UK.
Let me ask you, Lou Nixon, he talks a big game. He's calling himself the best deathmatch wrestler in the world. We've recently seen him kind of wrestle all over the world, Philadelphia, Blood Sports. But Lou Nixon could be, one to reckon with, certainly in Thrill Kill on June the 2nd. Any thoughts on Lou?
Yeah, Lou is I made a list of wrestlers that I wanted to get in the ring with in a deathmatch before I came back. And he's on it. He is on the list. But you can't really say you're the best in Europe until you've done the thing. You can't just win one belt and tour it around. You've got to do it for years and years and years. So I hope he does it. And I hope I get to wrestle him sooner or later. Hopefully in the final, we'll see. Unless fucking Session Moth gets a quick roll up on me, which is highly unlikely. But we'll see. We'll see.
I wouldn't count her out. I wouldn't count her out, Drew. She's a dangerous individual, Session Moth. She can be... Once she's had a couple of cans, she can be crazed.
There we go.
I don't doubt it.
There we go. She might have a kendo stick with her this time round. But Drew Parker, great to see you back on the scene. We're so much looking forward to seeing you wrestle under a TNT banner once more, June the 1st and June the 2nd, and in particular at Thrill Kill for that deathmatch tournament. Wish you nothing but the best, my friends.
Thank you very much.
Best for the future. But thank you so much for being our first guest on this first live episode of Barbed Wire.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Have a good evening.
See you as always.
Thank
you.